So in this episode, we're going to continue to look at Meghan's early behaviours. We will see some of her destructive behaviours start to rear their ugly heads. From these points on, you see these behaviours becoming more and more exaggerated, almost to caricature levels. But we're going to analyse where these behaviours started and where the red flags started to be raised. Something I've noticed about Meghan in these earlier interviews is her hair. Her hair seems relatively natural. In later appearances, she has ridiculous amounts of extensions put in her hair. But in this particular engagement, she seems to have her natural hair. She uses her hair to convey a message, I feel. I used to do this quite a bit. When I wanted to look kind of sexy, I'd let my hair hang over my face. Now, you might say that, well, she's around a bunch of girls. Why does she care if she looks sexy or not? Well, this is why. You can see here that when she's talking to that first girl, there's a piece of hair just hanging over her eye there. And now and again, she moves it out of the way, but she never tucks it behind her ear. And like I said, that's a way of trying to look sultry type thing. In loads of other appearances, she tucks that piece of hair behind her ear and leaves it out of the way, but here she doesn't. Now, like I said, why is she trying to look sexy and sultry in front of these girls? Let me tell you. These girls are about high school age. Now, when I was high school age, I wasn't very pretty. And I would look at other girls and think about how pretty they were. And I wish I was them. And I'd look at their lovely hair. Because I also, like Meghan, had, as they would say, ethnic hair. And so my hair would never fall nicely. So I'd look at girls who had hair like that and whose hair was really pretty and sat and framed their face. And I'd be really jealous. What she wants is for these girls to be jealous of her. She doesn't do this behaviour with her hair later on in this engagement or at other engagements that I've noticed, especially at engagements where she's got a huge amount of hair extensions in. But Meghan has, in later interviews, talked about her interactions with high school aged girls. And she has talked about, for example, on the Jamie Kern-Lima interview, how these girls write her letters and say, oh, a real life princess and things like that, which has never happened. The high school girls don't interact with celebrities that way anymore. That this is something of the early 90s that we used to do as someone who's the same age as Meghan. Anyway, what she wants here is for those girls to look at her as she would look at pretty girls and women, I guess, when she was little, how she would look at them with envy. And that's what she wants. And I, as embarrassing as it is to say, have been in those situations where I want high school girls to look at me like I used to look at older girls or women with the features that I wanted. Here, nobody is looking at Meghan. No one's giving her any attention, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. That little bit of hair is still there right over her eye. So obnoxious. And she doesn't know what to do with herself because no one's giving attention to her. She's kind of looking around awkwardly, and she have a little mask slit right there. Something I really notice in these engagements is how comfortable Harry seems. In later engagements, he's less and less comfortable. But here, he just seems so natural. It's lovely to see. This part here is quite awkward. Now, I can't say if the reaction that this girl has to Meghan touching her is just that the girl doesn't like physical contact, or there's something about Meghan that really makes her feel uncomfortable. Watch this. The girl like leans away and won't look at Meghan. It's so strange, but I tend to go towards the fact that maybe that girl doesn't like physical touch, because if you look at the other side where Harry is, that girl who he has his arm around has a similar reaction, maybe not as extreme as the girl who has the reaction to Meghan, but yeah, I tend to lean that way. Although, to be fair, plenty of people have had a very similar reaction to Meghan. And here we get the hand holding. It's starting to creep in. They're watching these people play sport. They're playing some sort of game. I think it's a practice, really. But they're just standing there watching. Why are they holding hands? There's no need for it. And it looks so weird. They don't need to be holding hands while they're watching this. This isn't a romantic moment. It's so unprofessional. Here we have them at Commonwealth Day. You can see that Meghan and Harry fit in so well with William and Catherine, and it would have been so easy for Meghan to kind of carry on this role. They were like 4 of them working together. It was so nice. They could have had such a great role in the royal family and done so much. But the problem is Meghan wants to be noticed all the time. And again, like I say, it's embarrassing for me, but I can't say that I would have acted any differently. I would have wanted to do interviews. I would have wanted to say what I wanted to say. I would have wanted to stand up for myself when something was put in the newspaper that I thought put me in a bad light. But that's because, as I've previously said, I'm not a calm person. I'm selfish. And these traits in her mean that she doesn't fit into this family, but she can't be successful on her own. She has no self-control. I always like to take the fastest way, the easiest way to get what I want, and that's what she thought she would have by marrying Harry. She'd be able to get the fame quickly. She wouldn't have to put in a lot of effort into her business, because she sees famous people doing it and thinks that it's easy. Well, that's what they want it to look like. It's supposed to look easy. But she doesn't realize, and she doesn't listen. As I don't. I think, well, I know better. These are traits that I've fought with my whole life, but she doesn't learn her lessons. Such a shame. She could have had so much. Look at this. These people love her. They're waiting to see her. They're giving her the attention that she craves so desperately. Why couldn't she be happy with that? This is the place where I say, I've got nothing. I don't understand why this wasn't good enough for her. People loved her. People were calling her name and wanting to shake her hand and wanting to speak to her. And she looked perfectly comfortable doing it. She seems perfectly nice. Why wasn't this enough for her? If you have any ideas, guys, please do put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Here you can see where she tilts her head slightly, and that does come across slightly false. So maybe the issue is that she doesn't like this type of attention, that she wants to be admired from afar and she doesn't want to be spoken to, basically. She won't have to expend energy saying nice things back to people who are saying nice things to her, because that's tiring. Saying things that you don't mean is tiring, and having that smile on your face all the time while you're doing it and trying to pretend to be grateful is tiring. Like I said in my previous video, that keeping that fake smile on and trying to constantly think of things to say to people that you don't mean is difficult, because you've got to try and think of something nice to say. So it's tiring. So maybe that is why this type of attention wasn't enough for her. She wanted the attention where people don't speak to her. They just take photos and say how pretty she is. And we see that later on in this video when she goes into the women's empowerment event and lingers outside so that people can take photos of her. Maybe that's the attention that she craves, not this form of attention. But again, I don't know. Please do, like I said, put it in the comments so we can maybe have a discussion. Maybe we can get to the bottom of it. But this one, I don't know. Look at Harry here. Again, he seems so comfortable. He seems so happy. It's almost endearing how he reacts and how he interacts with the people in this crowd. He seems so sweet and so nice, and he seems happy with Meghan. I want to know what happened. Nobody's racist. Nobody's saying anything mean to her here. Racism didn't start. There was never racism. There's always going to be a couple of people who say mean things. They're going to pick anything about you to say something mean. I mean, if she was white, they would have found something to be mean to her about. That's just the nature of people. But it was tiny, and it wasn't enough to give this up. Take a look at this clip here. I remember when I was much younger, I was with a really, really nice partner. He always wanted me to be happy, and he was willing to change to be the person that I wanted him to be. Wrong, but I was wrong for making him feel that way. Anyway, he would basically do whatever I wanted to make me happy. Now, have a look at this clip here where Meghan pushes Harry's hand down. Now, she wants him to be a certain way. I don't know what that way is, but when she pushes his hand down, she's saying to him, "You're doing too much." So she has a certain way she wants him to be, or a certain way she wants him to be seen, and this is showing through here. This is the beginning of it. It does get more noticeable as we go through the engagement, and a lot of people have noticed it. It's not a secret that she kind of, taps him and moves him and things like that. We'll see that in later videos, but I think this is the beginning of it where it's starting to happen. It doesn't happen that often during this engagement, but in later engagements you see it happening multiple times in the engagement. Now, during this engagement, I want you guys to look at how Meghan looks at William compared to how she looks at everybody else when they speak. When William speaks, she's very intently looking at him. She maintains what would be eye contact if he were looking at her. And she doesn't shift her gaze, and she looks quite seriously at him throughout. This look says, "I'm listening." It says, "I'm interested in you." This is the look I used to give to people who I wanted to let know that I was interested in. Very intense and kind of sultry. Now look how she looks at Kate when Kate is talking. She looks away a lot. She fiddles with her hair. She doesn't maintain that same intensity. She doesn't really care how Kate sees her, or what Kate sees when she looks at Meghan. Same when Harry is speaking. Now, this is the bit I was talking about earlier, where Meghan wants a certain type of attention, not the type of attention that a royal is used to having, as in meeting and greeting people, but the type of attention where she hasn't really got to make an effort, just stand around and look pretty. That is the type of attention that she wants. Then she taps Harry on the back as if to say, "Now shake these nice people's hands." She's never done that before. She's not in charge here, but she's trying to act like she is. She's much bigger in her gestures at the beginning of this video. That's noticeable here, and it makes Harry look diminished as a result. He seems much more nervous than normal here. And that's an example of how her behaviour can impact on his. Now, I recognise this. I recognise this as we've had an argument or a discussion beforehand about how I feel that he doesn't lift me up, or he doesn't put me in the spotlight or give me my credit when we're out. That's, I think, why he's acting this way. I've had a couple of those discussions with ex-partners, and as a result, they seem nervous when we go out then, because they want to make sure that they don't do that to me or make me feel that way. That partner I was telling you about in particular was like that. Look how tense her face is here. And the way she looks at people is starting to change. This is not her usual look. It's not her usual tight smile. It's almost like a very restrained smile. It looks almost like she's being judgy. And I think that's just because she's tired. Maybe she didn't want to do this today and she's just tired of being false. I used to get that too. If I didn't want to go to an event or something, I'd react in the same way. I wouldn't be my usual over-exuberant self. That's what this looks like here. Look at Harry standing behind her like that with his hands together. He looks nervous and like shrunken. Here it looks like she's really angry at him when she looks at him. It's not the same look that she usually gives when he speaks. What have we learned from watching Meghan in these engagements today? We've learned that being sociable is tiring for Meghan because, like me, she has to pretend to be someone she's not. Because, like me, I know that I'm not a nice person. I know that I'm a judgy person. But she can't come across that way because she wants people to like her. And that's what I used to do. All of her mannerisms are so familiar to me. Like I said, there's a section that I'm not sure about, and please do discuss that in the comments. But the way she acts is so like me. And like I said in my previous videos, I think that's why I have such a visceral reaction to her. What we're going to do in the next videos now is see how these mannerisms that I've identified become so much more magnified in her interviews, in her engagements, in her paper interviews, in the things that leak in inverted commas, which basically means she's telling people to say these things or just releasing them herself. And we're going to analyze the difference between her in these engagements and when she has more control over what she does. There isn't somebody in the royal family telling her to calm down or to check herself. She is footloose and fancy-free. She can do whatever she wants. And that's when her behaviours start looking unhinged. So please do join me for the next videos. We're going to use this baseline to talk about her behaviours when she has no restrictions. Hope to see you again soon, everybody. Bye for now.